one I've thought about, and it's do we see Detroit being spenders in free agency this offseason? Obviously, no Miggy on the books. Scope will be off the books. Lorenzen, Boyd, all that. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Well, obviously,
I know
there are
Uper
people who are of the opinion that the market this year isn't particularly attractive. With that being said, there's always somebody out there that can help you. And when you look at the Tigers spot by spot on this roster, there are upgrades to be had. Okay, let's face it. It all comes down to Chris Ilitch. And I'll be a broken record. I'll say it till the cows come home. If he wants to spend, they can spend. There are no restrictions other than the ones he puts on himself. So what will Scott Harris do? He did say last year that all avenues are open. It's going to be up to Chris Ilitch to prove that statement by Harris is true. They didn't do it in offseason number 1 for Scott Harris. You have to believe that at some point they know they have to add some talent from the outside if indeed they want to contend. So I would hope they do. I just proof will be in the pudding.
Yeah, there are some interesting players who are going to be free agents next year. That Tigers are not going to be wading into the Shohei Ohtani waters as much as we want them to. They're not going to be spending $500 million on a player.
Right.
Even if we, search our couch cushions, it's not happening. He's not coming to Detroit. But they're like, there are players they can go out and get to make the team better. And, you don't like to think about it, but if they need a first baseman next year, there are a couple available. Rhys Hoskins will be coming off his knee injury, but he's been a solid player. There are some fairly cheap guys you can get. Matt Chapman will be available. And at third base, there are upgrades you can get. I'm sure they will spend some money. I don't think they're going to sign anybody to a 7-figure deal. I'll say that. I can imagine kind of maybe a small army of 1 to 2 year deals, 4 or 5 guys like that, just making $8 to $12 million a year or something, just kind of trying to upgrade it at certain spots. But yeah, who knows?
They spent a little bit of money on Baez, okay? But again, it was a year where there were 5 shortstops on the market. Most people had him ranked 5th or 4th, right? So they went in on the cheaper end of the market there. The Erod, deal, very affordable. That's a contract any team in baseball could afford if they want to, in a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. And both of them, they gave themselves a 2-year out. So they limited the investment. So when I've had some people tell me, well, Ilitch spent. Yeah, he did, but he didn't really follow through. It was a kind of a one-time thing. We need more. They need more. More evidence that he wants to compete.
Yeah, I like the 1 or 2 year, maybe like 3 years at the most. Like we saw with Carlos Rodon when he was signed to the Giants. I could see a deal like that because there are some pretty good free agent pitchers. Jack Flaherty, Aaron Nola, Julio Urias. I think Urias will probably get a long-term deal. Dax Scherzer has an opt-out. So pitchers like that, offensively, there's no one too special. Cody Bellinger's a free agent. He'd probably be seeking a long-term deal. Tim Anderson has a club option. I don't know if the White Sox would want to let him go. But yeah, I think more, deals kind of like we saw this offseason, but I think just a little more bigger in value, maybe like a $15 million a year, $20 million a year, like what the Cubs did with Cody Bellinger. I thought was a really smart pickup for a team like that. So I can see moves like that, but nothing long-term, like a, 4 or 5 year, 6-year deal committing to these guys.